Good morning, boys and girls, and welcome to Wednesday. Today we are on lesson 20. Don't forget your novel, Love That Dog, should be in front of you. And we're going to go ahead and start today's lesson. We are on lesson 20, and it says, students will be able to identify and explain the structure of a poem using Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Evening. So remember, boys and girls, all the way to the back of the book after page 86. Remember, there's no more page numbers, but once you flip it over, it says some of the books used by Miss Stretchberry. And then we already read the Red Wheelbarrow the day yesterday. And then once you flip it again, you'll be able to see the poem that we need today. And it is called Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. So let's go ahead and get to our key points. So what are we doing? We're going to identify the structure of a poem, the lines, the stanzas, the line breaks, the rhyme, the type of poem, and the type of poem could be a narrative. Remember, a narrative tells a story. Lyrical expresses feelings and thought, kind of like a song, so it sounds like a song. Humorous, LOL, it makes us laugh, it's funny. And then a free verse, of course, there is no rhythm, no rhyme. And how are we going to do that, boys and girls? Well, we have to number the lines of the poem. We have to label the stanzas and the line breaks. We have to read the poem. So the first time that we read the poem, we are identifying any type of sensory language. Remember, sensory language is anything that appeals to our five senses. Well, actually, six senses. What we see when we close our eyes, what we see, what we hear, what we can touch, what we can taste, what we can feel. Then we're going to read the poem again, and we're going to label using hashtags, or we can also do an illustration. So an illustration could be a quick, let me go back. It could be a quick little picture that tells me what that stanza was mostly about or what the poem was about. And then the third time, I'm going to label and type, label the type of poem. Remember, narrative, lyrical, humorous, or free verse. So don't forget, we are on the focusing question that says, how do the characters in Love That Dog show characteristics of a great heart? Do I mean literally or figuratively? I mean figuratively, right? They have a great heart. And by the end, the lesson 20, you're going to tell me, what does a deeper exploration of poetic elements reveal about the Red Wheelbarrow and Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Evening? So we're going to say the speaker wrote it this way, and this is the reason why. So I want you to take out your word web. And today we're going to write down the word downy. But before you do that, I want you to write on the top these two questions, because this is how you would usually see these types of question for your word web. It's what word helped the reader understand the meaning of blank, and what phrase helps the reader understand blank. So I'm going to go ahead and give you 40 seconds to go ahead and write those two questions. Remember, you're going to do them on top on your paper of your word web. So anything here on top. So you have a minute, 45 seconds left. Remember, two questions is what words help the reader understand the meaning of blank? And what phrase helps the reader understand? Remember, using context clues is very, very important, boys and girls. I have to read the sentence before, the sentence of, and the sentence after, because it gives me context clues. It gives me little clues that tells me the definition. Sometimes I don't even need the dictionary or the thesaurus. So you have the last 5 seconds. Okay, so let's go ahead and try our context clues. So I want you to take 15 seconds and think about it, boys and girls. Where have you heard the word downy? Downy. So close your eyes. Where have you heard that? Take some thinking time. Where have you heard the word downy? So yes, right? Your mom, your dad maybe use downy. What do they use it for though? They use it to wash clothes, right? But what is it for? It makes it soft and it makes it smell good. So what is downy? What could it mean? It's probably making something soft or smell good, right? Okay, now let's use our context clues and see how it was used. So we're going to go ahead and use stanza 3. And it says, he gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there's some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. So boys and girls, what is happening in this stanza? There's a sound. What's that sound? The speaker included what? There's a sound of a sweep, right? So it's kind of like, when you're sweeping and you hear a little bit of sound if it's very, very quiet. And look what this line after that says, of easy wind and downy flake. So where are those flakes coming from? It's snowing, right? So it's of easy wind and downy flake. So what does downy mean? A downy flake. That means it's soft, right? It's gentle when it lands on you. Like last time when it snowed, when it was snowing, it was very, very soft. You couldn't even feel it on you unless you took off your gloves and then you were freezing, right? But when it landed on you, it was easy wind and it was a downy flake. That means it was soft. That means it was light. So let's go ahead and go back and write that definition here. So remember, downy goes here. The definition goes here. So we know based on context clues, boys and girls, that it means it's soft. We know that snow is soft. You have the last 15 seconds. So what is a synonym of downy? You can put soft, right? What about the antonym? Remember, an antonym is the opposite. So what is the opposite of downy or soft? It's hard, right? Or it could be rough. Good. Make sure you write them down. Now for a sentence, I want you to write your own sentence today. Let me go ahead and go back to the poem and look how they use it. The only other sounds is sweep, of easy wind, and downy flake. So I want you to do your own sentence using downy. Yes, you could include your mom, your dad, your grandma, whoever uses the word or the item downy. So you have the last 15 seconds. You should already have a synonym, an antonym, and now you're focusing on your sentence. Last 8 seconds. 5. All right, and let's go ahead and move on. So boys and girls, right now I am behind page 86 all the way to the back of Love That Dog. And we're going to go ahead and start reading the poem, Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Evening. Remember, we must label the lines, the stanzas, the line breaks, the type of poem. We're also looking at the type of sensory details the speaker used to give me an image in my head. So remember, I close my eyes and I can see an image. I can see an illustration in my head. Okay, so Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. Boys and girls, how can we change that title? So stopping, we can change it to pause. What about woods? Woods could be a forest, right? What about snowy evening? Snowy, we know that it is cold. And evening, it's usually afternoon, right? And by Robert Frost. So Robert Frost is my speaker or poet, right? Okay. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer. Oh, what did we say queer was? They're acting suspicious, right? So the horse is acting suspicious. To stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake, to ask if there's some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flakes. So we know it's soft. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. So that was the first time we read it, boys and girls. The second time when we're going to read it, we're also going to label our lines, stanzas, line breaks, and the type of poem. So go ahead and close your eyes, and you're listening and you're sitting tall. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. So I can already see a person walking through where? Through the woods. And what's happening? How is he feeling? We could infer that he's cold, right? We can conclude that he's probably feeling cold because remember what it says, to watch his woods fill up with snow. Stanza 2. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. So boys and girls, we know that he's in the woods. We know that the little horse, he doesn't know what's going on. He's like, wait, why are we stopping here? And they are near frozen lake. So we know that it's very, very cold. Not just cold, it's freezing. Stanza 3. He gives his harness bells a shake. Who gives a shake? The horse, right? So we can already see, if we close our eyes, we can see the horse giving himself a little shake. We can hear the bells to ask if there's some mistake. The only other sounds, the sweep. Oh, so what sound do we hear? Only the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. So boys and girls, is it very loud? No, right? It's very, very quiet. Look what it says. The only other sounds, the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. So it's only his horse and himself and the woods, and you can hear every time he steps, you can hear the little crackling in the snow. I can see the little horse who thinks it's very weird. They're maybe out in the middle of nowhere in the woods. Stanza 4. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. So boys and girls, the last two lines are repeated. Remember, what did we say? Why does the speaker include repetition? They want to emphasize, right? They want to make a point. So what is the point that the speaker wants to do here? That he has miles to go before he sleeps, right? Can he stop? No, right? He loves the woods. Look what he says. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep. That means that he is determined to keep going, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. So is he very close to his destination? Absolutely not, right? Look what it says. And miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. That means he still has a long way for him to get to his destination. Okay, so that was the second time. We can see the little horse. We can see him walking through the woods. We can see that he's alone. We know that it's very quiet. Remember, if we close our eyes, all the sensory language is just coming to our brains, and we can see the whole scenario. So boys and girls, how many lines are in total in this poem? So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and number the rest: 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So good job if you said 16. How many stanzas are there? Remember, stanzas look like paragraphs. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Good job if you said 4. Line breaks. Remember, line breaks is where a little finger fits. So if you're using the book Love That Dog, your finger should fit in between each stanza. Or you can see here my little circle fits in between. So this is 1, 2, 3. And do we count the last one? No. So how many line breaks do we have? 3. Now, the type of poem, boys and girls, we need to read it how many times? We need to read it a total of 3 times, right? Okay. So let's go ahead and read it again. Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. Okay, I can already see all the imagery in my mind. Whose woods these are? I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. So we could start inferencing. We can conclude that there's maybe somebody there in the woods. Maybe it's a little house, because look what it says. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. So he is very determined to get somewhere. So there's a little house, and there's probably somebody looking at him saying, I wonder where he's going on a very cold day. Stanza 2. My little horse must think it queer. Remember, the little horse thinks it's weird, it's bizarre, to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. So boys and girls, if it's the darkest evening of the year and there's snow, we could infer, we can conclude as a reader that what season is it? Is it spring? Is it fall? Is it winter? It is definitely not spring, right? Because the author or the speaker is not telling me about any flowers he saw. What about summer? Does he say that there's sun? No, right? So we can conclude or infer that the season is, it's probably winter, right? Somewhere between maybe fall or maybe even winter. Good. Let's go to stanza 3. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there's some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flakes. So boys and girls, we can already tell that it's very, very what? It's very, very quiet, right? It's only him and his little horse. He can literally hear every single step he takes in the snow, because in the snow, when you step on it, you hear a little like crunch. So you can hear that. You can hear the little crunch. Plus, you can hear the little what? The bell, right? The little bell from the horse, because remember, he's shook. He's confused. He doesn't know what's happening. Stanza 4. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep. And miles to go before I sleep. So I know the speaker used repetition to do what? To emphasize or to make a point that he has what? He has to get to a place. He needs to be there. Maybe, like he said, I have promises to keep. So he probably promised someone that he'll be there at a certain time or a certain date, and he is determined to get there on time, right? So the woods are lovely, dark and deep. Does he like the woods? Yes, right. He really enjoys them, because look how he describes them. They are lovely, dark, and deep. But he can't stay there and enjoy it because what? He has a promise to keep. Good. So boys and girls, the last step is to analyze the type of poem. So is it humorous? Are we laughing? It is not humorous. Is it a free verse? Remember, a free verse that means that nothing rhymes. Well, we can't determine yet, right? Because we haven't done internal rhyme or end rhyme. Okay, so that one we don't know yet. How about a narrative? What does a narrative have? It has a story, it has the characters. Okay, so is this one is Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Evening? Is it telling you a story? Do we have a character? Yes, who's my character? Robert Frost, right? Because he says, I think, I know. So he's talking in first person, so Robert Frost is my character. Okay, what's his story? He has to get somewhere, right? Okay, so maybe it's a narrative. And what about the last one? Is it a lyrical? Is it expressing his feelings? Does it sound like a song? Whose woods these are? I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. Does that sound like a song? Kind of like the video that we saw about the little toad? No, right? So it's not lyrical. So now we're in between two, boys and girls. So we need to determine. So in order to determine if it's a narrative or a free verse, we must come back here. So I want you to pay close attention. Remember, you're slanting towards the screen. So we always start with end rhyme, and we start with letter A. Okay? Now let's remember, end rhyme, we look at the last words. Though and no. Though and no. Do they rhyme, boys and girls? No. Though. Yes, right? So they're what letter? They're both A, yes, because they rhyme. What about here? Here and no. Do they rhyme? No, they don't. So this one needs a new family. What's after letter A? Next is letter B, right? Okay, let's go to line 4. Snow and no. Do they rhyme? Yes, so that means they have to be in the same family. And what family is no? Line 1. A, right? So this one has to be A. Okay, now be very careful here. There is a line break. That means I must start again with letter A. So because there is a line break here, so let me go ahead and mark my line break. I have a line break. I must start again with letter A. Okay, so if there was no line breaks, boys and girls, then yes, you can start with the next letter after B, which would be C and then D. But because there's a line break, I must start with A. So queer is going to be letter A. What about line 5? Queer and near. Do they rhyme? Queer, near. Yes, so what letter would near be? A. Good job if you said A. What about lake? Lake and queer. Do they rhyme? No, so that's already letter B. Yes, good job. Remember, if it doesn't rhyme, you have to find a new family, and after A, it's letter B. What about year? Year and queer. Do they rhyme? Yes. So what letter would that be? Letter A. So I already see a pattern, boys and girls, of A, B, A, B, A. So let's go to stanza 3. And I'm going to go ahead and give you some time to work this by yourself. Let's see what letters you get. Remember, you look at the last letter and tell me if there's any rhyme. So I'm going to go ahead and give you 30 seconds. You could write this on your response journal, and then we're going to check our answers. Actually, I'm going to give you 15 seconds, and you have 10 seconds. So mistake and shake. Do they rhyme? Sweep and shake. Sweep, mistake. Flake and shake. All right, let's start. What did you get for shake? Remember, there is a line break, so what do I have to do? Start with letter A. Good job. What about shake and mistake? Do they rhyme? Yes, so it is letter A. Good. What about sweep? Sweep, shake. Sweep, mistake. No, so that is letter B. Good. They had to find any family, right? What about flake? Flake, shake. Flake, shake. Do they rhyme? Yes, so it is family. Hey, good job. Oh, and then what do I have after this stanza? I have another what? I have another line break. Good. So what do I have to do? Again, I have to start with A. So let's go ahead and start with A. Try this one again by yourself. 15 seconds. Remember, you have to start with A. You have 8 seconds. Deep and keep. Sleep and deep. 5. And time. Okay. Deep and keep. Do they rhyme, boys and girls? Deep, keep. Yes, so it is the same family. So what letter is that? A. Good job. What about sleep? Sleep, deep. Do they rhyme? Yeah, so what letter is that? A. Good job. And then we have the same word. So what letter would that be? A. So we have a rhyme scheme, a pattern of A, B, A. And then the last stanza, boys and girls, it's A. That means that they all rhyme. Deep, keep, sleep. So deep, keep, they rhyme. And then sleep, of course, it's a repeated word. So can we say this type of poem is a free verse? No, right? It's not a free verse. But we can say that the type of poem is what? Look at our key points. It's a narrative, right? With the author or the speaker is trying to tell you a story. So let's go ahead and write this down. It's a narrative. Good. So we just identified our first poem. We found the rhyme scheme. Remember, we look at the last letter. There's a line break, so I have to start again at A. There's 16 lines, 4 stanzas, 3 line breaks. I know it's narrative. I know the speaker uses a lot of sensory details. When I close my eyes, I can illustrate, or I can see in my head what's going on. I can hear, I can touch, I can smell, maybe taste. So let me show you this quick video so that you can make a connection. So this is what you should have seen in your head. So make sure you're paying close attention.
Stopping by woods on a snowy evening. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. You will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it cooler to stop without a
right, boys and girls. So was that at all anything like you pictured in your head? Yes, right. We can hear the snow as he was walking. We can hear the horse. We can hear the shaking of the horse. We can tell that it was very, very dark. Yes, good job. So that video just kind of gave us a sense of what the speaker was trying to tell us. So the speaker wrote this poem like this because he wanted to tell a story. He has somewhere to go and he is very determined to get there. So even though it might be very, very cold, boys and girls, he is determined to get there. He made a promise to somebody. So we could infer or conclude that he keeps his promises, right? He's a person who keeps his promises because he says, I will not stop. I have promises to keep. Okay, boys and girls, so before you log off from the video, make sure you have your daily comprehension in front of you. We will finish this in class. So make sure you're on the one that says Wednesday, and we're going to start making inferences. Don't forget, you also need Love That Dog in front of you. And don't forget, anything I write, you write. So you should have all these notes written in your response journal. I will see you in class.